Now, wives, do me a favor, and when you get in the car, to go get the sandwich, to go serve lemonade downtown or wherever you're going to go after church, don't get in the car and start pestering him. Okay, so what's the vision? What's the vision? What do you think? What do you think? What are we going to do? What do you want me to do? Just go crazy with it. Okay, don't do that. Just please don't do that. But this is what you need to say to your husband. You know what? When it comes to this whole vision thing, when it comes to you being spiritual leader of our family, I believe in you. Those are the four most powerful words I believe that a wife can say to a husband. I believe in you. I believe in you. And you know what? I'm going to pray for you that you're going to hear clearly what God's vision is for our family. And when you get that vision, I'm going to support you all the way. Okay? And then wives, just let it go and then find somewhere on your own and pray diligently for your husband. Okay? Now, all the single ladies, I know that's a Beyonce song or something, but all the single ladies, if you can't tell a guy that you believe in him and you aren't willing to submit to his spiritual leadership, that's probably a sign, a really good and clear sign that he's not the one for you. You're been called to be a follower of Christ, and don't marry somebody that gets in the way of that. Marry somebody that enhances that lifts that up, that helps you fulfill that, not becomes a roadblock for you, but rather becomes someone who will lead the way for you. It's a little different. Now on to the husbands. Oh, you husbands, you got a tough job. You have to love the church as Christ loved the church and gave himself up for her. I think that in verses 25 through 31, it says things like cleansing her by the washing with the water through the word, to present her to himself as a radiant church, without stain or wrinkle or any other blemish, but holy and blameless. I think that God is telling us in these husbands that your wife is somebody to be protected, and not just physically. Your wife is somebody who needs her reputation to be protected. When you talk about her, are you talking about her with her reputation in mind? Do you speak of her highly? And also just this physical protection to be there for her. Let's see. Love your wife as your own body. I love this sentence. He who loves his wife loves himself. He who loves his wife loves himself. So, don't be judgmental and be like, oh, he doesn't love his wife. He must have a self-esteem problem. He doesn't love himself. Don't be like that. But realize in your own life, this is about looking at ourselves. Love your wife. It's just what she needs. And then later, I love it. For this reason, a man will leave his father and mother and be united to his wife, and the two will become one flesh. That's called leave and cleave, buddy. Cleave to your wife. You have heard it said that good leaders know how to delegate. As the head of the family, the husbands don't need to be in charge of every little detail. God's not calling you to dictate where your wife should be every hour, what she should do every hour of every day, and that you should tell her how she should be doing all of those things. That's not loving your wife. That's being controlling and manipulative. That's not leadership. There are lots of things that should be delegated. One person is better at one job than another. We have different gifts. Brent and I, we don't do everything. He does some things and I do some things. Some people are better at finances than the other. Some people are better at, logistics, making travel plans, the work inside the house, the work outside the house, taking care of the cars. Shopping, everyday shopping, big purchases shopping. There's all kinds of things. Cooking, decorating, keeping tabs on the kids' activities, keeping tabs on the kids' education. But when it comes to being the spiritual leader of your marriage, husbands, it's up to you. It's not your wife's job. It's your job. Sorry, but there is no delegating with this one. You can't say, well, that's your job. In our years, 13 years of working in churches, we have seen sometimes where husbands delegate spiritual leadership right to their wife. They just say, well, that's your thing. You decide where we're going to go to church. You are the one who needs to model to our kids what a relationship with Christ looks like. That's not really my job. You just take care of that. You take them where they need to go. You set an example of what it means to volunteer at church and get behind the body of Christ. You do it. You do it. I'll just, stay home and watch the game or something like that. That's not how it happens. You're shirking your responsibilities. Think about this as we say we're following the example of Christ. What if Christ delegated his responsibility as the Savior of the world? I mean, that was his calling. I mean, we never saw him. We did say, I don't really want to do this. Please let this cup pass from me, but your will be done, Father. What if he said, you know what? I'm just going to delegate the cross to somebody else. Somebody else could go die on the cross. It wouldn't have worked. He's the only one who was ever qualified to die on the cross and be a sacrifice for the entire human race. He's the only one who was the perfect sacrifice. He couldn't delegate it. He couldn't pass it off to somebody else. The buck did not pass off. The buck stops with him. And in the same way, in spiritual leadership, in your family, husbands, it's you. It's you. You can't pass it off to somebody else. You can't even pass it off to Brent or the Sunday school teacher. They're here to help you, and they're here to guide you and lead you. But in your home, he's the spiritual leader in my home. You have to be the spiritual leader in your home. There is no better day than today to start praying about God's vision for your marriage. Seek God's will and his plan for your family. If you do that as husbands, then we as wives will do what we can. We would love to do whatever we can to support you and work alongside you to make that vision a reality. Right, ladies? Right. We admire you. We look up to you. You are our heroes when you willingly, with the example of Christ, following his example, lay down your life for us. And we're more than willing to come right along beside you and lay down our lives right there with you for whatever God has called our families to be.